Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's going to be a fun day on the internet. Because why? Let me talk to you. I am joined by two fine gentlemen, representatives of Icons of the Ring. I got the real Sean Styles, and I've got the doctors in the house, Dr. Gorilla Nuts. We have Sean and Scott. Boys, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Thanks for having us on, dude.
We made it. We did it. You have no idea the shenanigans we had to pull. Sean and I were talking before the show how we entered the chat. We were fine. We've been here for much time. And Scott, one of the premier creators, both gentlemen, respectfully, it's Scott, premier creator, fantastic. Do face textures, designs, all this techno-wizzo stuff, and then he can't get into Discord. It's driving me nuts.
It's the phone. I blame the phone. It wasn't me. It was the phone. But we're here. And that's what's important.
Got that right. So guys, what we're going to talk about today, if you guys are not familiar though, out in the chat and you're out in the wrestling universe itself, Sean and Scott both work as part of the team with other great creators too, as part of a whole collaboration group called Icons of the Ring. And if you're not familiar, they do some of the best creations that are out there for the 2K games. So the likes of, I mean, you guys give me the rundown list, but traditionally, like some of the big ones are going to be like Owen Hart, for example. Road Warriors are out there too. I know Sean's just mentioned like I might do a Steve Blackman, but for you guys, and for the community, they're the ones that you typically see like front and center on the most downloaded page. Bam Bam Bigelow, Brian says in the chat, 100%. So they're the ones with other creators too. Executioner being another one that is part of the group. Sky Movesets works with you guys. So a massive, and there's others, but there's a massive group of you that come together and make these creations really dead on. For example, Hardcore Holly was just released. That, and Sean was sending me this like, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is the model. And I kept saying to him, I was like, Sean, this looks like an in-game model. Like, it's kind of wild. I'm missing the Tron and the theme song. And I like when Hardcore Holly did have the How Do You Like Me Now? And then it went into this. Yeah. But guys, it's honestly, it's fantastic work. I download your stuff every single year. So it's really cool that, that I could poke your brains. And what we're going to do today, everybody, is I'm going to get their review. I am not an aficionado when it comes to Creation Suite. Matt sucks. I'm bad at it. I can't create anything. I can't do a texture. I can't do layers. I got Scott building my characters for me off to the side. So what I wanted to do was get their take on 2K24, but more specifically, we'll drill down into universe mode. If you're looking for, Billy Herman says, like, what's the hashtag? Boys, what would be the hashtags that they would usually use to find your stuff?
Icons of the Ring, I think, would be a good one because we all use that collectively. Just make sure when you do use that, though, you're looking at the creator because there are other people that do use that hashtag that will upload under that, and it might not be an authentic Icons of the Ring creations.
There you go. All right, let's get down to business. And Scott, I'll start with you. For 2K24, and let's say the Creation Suite in general, overall impressions of how it is this year compared to last year. What are, the goods and the bads and things like that, but just your overall take so far. Now that we are 2 weeks with the game, how do you feel about Creation Suite as a whole?
Oh, I love it. I think it's the best that it has been. There's a couple things like, so when we create, what I'll do is I'll go back into 23 and I'll write down all my sliders, like take pictures of like the face morph and everything. And then hopefully it translates to 24 or the next game. The one thing that I did notice is while it may appear the same, that we've noticed that there's still a little bit of things that have been tweaked and improved between 23 and 24's Creation Suite. It's like incredibly intricate stuff. Like it looks the same at face value, but when you like actually dive in, it's definitely seen a lot of improvements that I think creators, especially some of the, the big name, the prominent creators have already found out too. I mean, there's a couple glitches that are still carrying over, but, Matt, I know you were with Jesse and James in the chat there, and where we talked to David, who is the developer for the creation team, and he had said that, the 2K is aware of these glitches and they're working on trying to fix these things. Will it happen this year? We hope, but overall, I mean, the creation suite it just keeps getting better every year. So
For the both of you, I guess, well then Sean, like for you, what stands out to you this year from like last year? What's been kind of improved for you on your end?
I think each year the models do get a little bit of a bump in fidelity. I think each year we get a little bit closer to having them look more and more like in-game models. And lighting's a big deal. That can definitely make or break, a face texture or a creation just due to whether or not the intricacies and detail that you're putting into something is actually going to show, or if it's going to kind of be washed out. So lighting can definitely be a big deal. I think I echo what Scott says in the sense that it's not like a night and day change, but it's a small improvement. And as long as we can keep seeing that trend upward, I'm happy. I do think it's the best it's ever been. And it's not perfect. Obviously, it's not perfect. It has its issues. But thankfully, we were lucky enough to speak to David Friedland and make sure that he heard, the community's, feedback, and they are well aware of what's going on. And I can tell you that if it's able to be addressed, it's going to be, like Scott said, maybe we won't see that in 24. Hopefully we will, but definitely, I think the thing that stands out the most is the creations are just looking more and more realistic each year.
Does the lighting work for you guys? So some of the critiques I've seen online as the game just came out was like, and I don't know how much this affects it, but I have seen like commentary of when you're doing when you initially go into community creations and I pull up any wrestler or any CAW, there's just like you're outside of the ring or whatever, and the lighting that is there. And I think you guys mentioned this with David too. Do you find that plays a big role where you're like, okay, this is kind of like the standard spot where he's standing and you're getting all the different lighting reflections. And I think you guys were talking about how this needs to be addressed because like the lighting from what is in here for the creation part of what we're looking at is going to be different based on the venue. I put him in SmackDown or an outdoor arena. Does that play a big role? And like, how challenging is that when you guys are creating stuff? So like, Scott, you just made Bam Bam. Like, does it mess you up at all? Like, do you have to, I guess my bigger question is, do you guys have to like play test a ton of your stuff? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's dumb question, Matt. I know. Okay.
Yeah, we do. And I mean, the lighting isn't as bad as like the 2K20. That one was really, you'd create something and it would look okay, like decent, and then you'd throw it into a match and it was all washed out. It's not quite to that level, but I do prefer the lighting in 2K23 a little bit more when you're creating, because you kind of will see how it translates into the match. But we do that usually the first couple days anyways. We'll test all our face photos, see if the skin tone is correct, and the details, make sure they actually will show up on a call, because unfortunately, I think there is a lot of creators that just kind of rush into things and not play test or not, see if their textures and images work for the new game. Because even though they worked last year, you might have to go back in and touch it up. So yeah, we always do that. We'll create something before we start even morphing it. We kind of throw it into a match, see how it looks, and kind of get familiar with the lighting system. And we will probably do that all year, because that's the best way to test your creation out.
I did not. Jared Executioner X actually worked on him. And it is, I mean, it's his best iteration of Sid yet. I think him and Scott collaborated, or Scott, but you did the face photo for that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it it really varies, man. It depends on the difficulty. If things are translating well from last year's game, it could literally be a day, 2 days, up to a month if you struggle. I initially planned on getting Bob Backlund out early this year, and it damn near tore me apart. So he got shelved because it's one of those things where it wasn't translating well, and we work very much as a team. So Scott's creating Bam Bam, Jared created Sid, I created Harco Holly. I got feedback from the entire team, the whole process, with Harco Holly. So I'm the one making the tweaks and stuff like that. I'm the one who's uploading it, but very much it's a collaborative effort. And I think most of our creations are like that. So it can take a little bit depending on the feedback and how well it's going.
What are, for both of you guys, what do you think are the major, so you're seeing like some improvements from 23, or I guess I'll back up for a second, 22 and 23 from just a gameplay side, where we had 19 and 20, and I'd be so curious what 21 would have been, by the way, just to pure peek behind the count, like what that would look like, probably a 2K20.5. But where we saw like the big change of 22 got released, and it felt, to me anyways, it felt like a much of a refresh, right? A lot of similarities, a lot of stuff we're used to, but it did kind of feel like, okay, they did change things, tighter camera shots, updated for grappling strikes, the actual controller setup, everything was changed. So they did do like a lot of refreshing. Then we got 23, which felt like a little bit more of a step up, where we got war games. And now we got to 24, which I feel is kind of the culmination of like a lot of what they wanted to do over the last 2 to 3 years of the game, right? Where we're seeing a lot of those improvements, and there's a ton more that I think the devs and the team want to do. What do you guys see as, how were things from 22 to 24? Does anything stand out for you where you're like, okay, this is largely the same, not a ton of changes, more tweaks and more refines, but was there anything, or is it just more of an in general of like, we just saw kind of this evolution of it? Like, how do you feel it's gone from 22 to 24? Scott, I'll pick you.
Are you talking in regards to Creation Suite,
Creation
Matt?
Suite, yeah. So just from how's Creation Suite evolved for you?
I would definitely say just an evolution of 22. The one thing that we noticed, 2K20. I mean, I try. So this is kind of like one thing is everybody always thinks I'm like an OG in creation. I just started in 2K15. And a lot of my stuff in like 2K19, I never even uploaded. I just created to create. So I didn't really upload until 22, like consistently. So, 22, I think it, like you said, it definitely kind of refreshed everything, because I created for fun, but it was just very casually through like the mid 2010s. And 22 is when I saw that Creation Suite and actually dove into it, I loved it. And I thought that was like, it was essentially the same, but it was just so polished. So I do think it got rehashed in 22, which was fantastic. And then 23 and 24, I would just say it's kind of an evolution of what 22 kind of built. And I know it looks the same on, like I said before, it looks the same to, most people, but there is a lot of things that we've noticed, because we like to kind of really push the Creation Suite to its limits and see how much we can do in that suite natively. And you can definitely tell that they are working on it behind the scenes and like under the hood. And it's definitely come a long way from 22, but that was a fantastic foundation that they built, I personally think.
John?
Yeah, I would agree. As far as gameplay goes, I enjoyed the way 2K19 played, but 2K19 played like 18, like 17, like 16, like 15, like 14. Yeah. So I never actually got my hands on 2K20 for an extended period of time. I think I played one match and put it down. I enjoyed the refresh of the gameplay. I thought it was needed. The tighter camera angles were really cool at first, and then as that went on, I found I kind of almost missed a little bit of that distance that you would create, so you can see the whole ring at once. And so the fact that the gameplay from 22 to now, I mean, the hit detection and the collision detection is way better. The Irish whips, being able to do that from a standing or a crouch position or whatever you want to call it. The blood physics are revamped and awesome. I think that ramp facing camera really just took that whole refresh to another level, because now not only are we getting gameplay refreshments, but now we're getting presentation refreshments, right?
Yeah.
So now we're getting a whole new feel of the game. And that ramp facing camera is very reminiscent to some of our favorite games of the past. It can kind of hit those nostalgia buttons for you. And I think being able to do that is great. The ability to change camera and manipulate that in spectator mode. When I do Universe, I don't play Universe. I watch it. I'm stuck in a time bubble with wrestling. I don't really watch too much of the current product. So when I want to go relive matches, I want to have matches that I can never have again. I literally go to Universe mode and say, I wish I could see this match. I do it. I watch it. And that's how I enjoy the game for the most part. So that freedom to move that camera angle is huge.
Sean, I'm the same as you. And especially right now with Universe mode, because to be honest, like my gripe with it is that it just feels very much like last year. I was hoping for more larger leaps, like in terms of promos or just more actionable items. Like we have a lot of really good cutscenes. They did add a lot. They actually refreshed a lot of the other ones, but to me, it's missing that. Okay, it's going in the next direction. It's hitting this new level, or it's got this real hook in it. And I feel like Universe mode, I'm spending more time in my GM and then just regular play. But same as you, Sean, I go in, simulate, create the universe, and I'm spectating because I want to use the camera. That's what I'm doing. I'm Kevin Dunn in there, for good or for worse, better or for worse. Like I'm just pulling that camera left and right and moving around, but it makes it more fun and it's more dynamic. And I think a lot of people that spend a lot of time with the game, they get to that point where they're like, okay, I got all these great creations. Well, I don't want to play. I want to see. I want to visualize it, right? I want to create moments or see how it plays out. Unless you do like a 6-man ladder match and no one grabs the belt. Have you seen that? No one's grabbing. I tried it the other day, guys. I tried it and it didn't work. I just watched the AI and it was like 20 minutes of just meandering around. It's bothersome.
I know Scott's bread and butter is usually my GM. I think he plays that with his brother a lot. Scott, what have you noticed like for improvements or changes in that this year? Because I don't really delve into that. It's kind of intimidating to me with the whole finance system and stuff like that. I think I'm a little bit overwhelmed by that. So have you been enjoying that?
Oh my God, yeah. My twin brother and I played a ton of it in 23. We only played maybe 1 or 2 times with 24. I think we're actually going to play this weekend. So we usually do like we play on Steam and then just do that Steam play together or Parsec or whatever. I can't wait until when they get the native online, like for my GM and Universe. That's going to be a huge, huge day for everybody because it is so much fun to play my GM with somebody else. Yeah. So we'll usually do like he'll take a brand, I'll take a brand, then we put 2 AI in, and it's just so much fun. But we love it. I think it's kind of the same, but they've just kind of built on it. But there was nothing wrong with it really in 23 that they, I'm glad they just are expanding on it. Because that's all it really needs, I think, personally.
Yeah, I think it's like I really like my GM, especially this year, and understanding more of it. But Sean, I'm the same as you. Since it came in, especially this year, I was like, okay, because they've moved things around aesthetically. It's a little different. There's deeper menus. It is a deeper system. So even I'm like, okay, this is a little intimidating of what am I managing? Doing the trades are fairly straightforward, but there's more depth to it. So I can see why it's like, if you don't really jump into it, it's kind of like, all right, I'm just going to go play some matches. Like this seems like a lot to do, and it can be. But I think that is also where, like Scott's saying, that's the next step I hope we see, which is here's your co-op online. You can, even if it's just one other, like they only make it for +1. I know then people will be like, well, why can't it be 4? But the online servers need addressing as well. But if they can get it to just one other person online and you guys can play together, that's a huge win. And then just add all the match types. And that's where, like Sean, we were saying before we started, I hope one day they do just kind of say, we're gonna take universe mode, and because that's based off of the old engine, I assume, and like under the Ukes, and it seems like it's a lot of work to keep it going and maintain it. I just hope one day they can go, we're gonna move everything under my GM, fold it in, and make something a little fresh. Because my GM is, to me, is like, it's just missing the creation aspect to be able to put in custom X, and then you're done. Then it's basically universe mode, right?
Yeah, Matt, I agree with you, because I think if they can roll the two together, that would be probably the best mode, like in any wrestling game. Because I've thought the same thing, is like, you can put like custom GMs in, but like, you know, my brother and I will put in like Tony Khan, but you can't have AEW. But you can have it in universe, but you can't have it in my GM. So if they can add that creation aspect into my GM. And then a couple more things too, like there's things in, like I've always wanted like statistics in my GM, or I'm sorry, in universe. I think I'm like in the minority of that, but I think that's kind of cool in regards to like creating universe. It was always, you kind of had to have like a notepad and keep track of things, you know, like my GM kind of does that for you, because they do have the statistics, like they have your win-loss records and things like that. If they could roll it all together, it would be perfect, because there's parts of universe I love, and there's parts of my GM I love. But I think I agree with you. I think they should roll universe into my GM, and then that mode would be awesome.
I got super chat here from Classic Random Clips Man. Thank you very much. He says, why is it when I go to download certain CAWs, even if everything is unlocked, that it begins to download, that it stops? Since you guys work for 2K. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I think that's a bug. We discussed that with David the other night, and I'm pretty sure that they're working on fixing that. Do you know what system that person's on?
He can put it in the chat if you want.
But
I'm gonna guess PlayStation.
I've heard this a couple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure that it has to do with the content that's contained within the creation. I think, and I could be totally wrong, but Scott, do you remember specifically what was said about that the other night?
I don't remember that. I don't remember that coming up. Community creations down. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought Xbox users were having an issue downloading, but that might have just been daunting.
So
I think someone in the chat the other night asked that same question.
Okay. So then I got to ask about that then. A lot of the feedback and what I see, and again, I'm going to talk to you guys like you work there, but you don't. You're just fans and creators too, like me. But it's like, what do you think? I see a lot of the feedback that like on a day-to-day where it's like, okay, yes, we know that like online servers, that's one thing, lobbies, we need that fixed and patched and so on. And on creation side, I see a lot of people being like, I can't, my stuff's crashing, my game is crashing. And often I think it's that we're downloading so much stuff that it's getting wonky because of all the textures, layers, what the person has created. Like, do you guys think that plays a role into it? Because I know we have a limit of CAWs and logos, but do you think that one reason why people's games crash so much is because of the amount that they're downloading? Do you think that plays into it?
I do. I think some of the content that's been uploaded to community creations uses some workarounds and some mods that the game isn't really meant to process. And I think sometimes, even though it's fantastically, it's a fantastic use of the ability to mod stuff like that, I think sometimes it can cause some instability in your game if you're downloading a ton of modded creations. And I'm not saying that's the only reason for crashes. It's not. Yeah. But it definitely can play a part into it, I would think. And, you know, I think also the logo numbering can be an issue too. Because Scott, I think you and I both know it's I have never even been able to get to that like 1,000 limit logo, because depending on the canvas size you're uploading, it will take up more memory than others. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think Dre was telling us about that. Like, if it's uploaded as a 512 by 512 as opposed to a 256 by 256, I think he'd have to be the one that explains it. But I think it does actually take up more image space. I don't want to say it incorrectly, but I think he did say that the size that you upload the image. So we usually try to do like 256 because it doesn't change the fidelity of the upload. But I think Dre 41 did say that it will actually eat up more of your image space. I've never hit that 1,000 before. I do know, like in 23, towards the end of the year, when people were downloading a ton of stuff, there was a lot out there. I mean, I know that when they hit the 1,000, they couldn't download things, but I doubt that's the reason 2 weeks in for people not being able to download. It's probably just new game and new servers and or whatever, and it's just.
I was just asking because that's just why, like, the first 2 weeks in, and it seems like it's more just servers and bugs and things that get patched and ironed out. It's impossible for us to say it's like, well, it's because you downloaded it. Could be not. It could be yes. It could be. It could also not be. We just don't know, and you don't know what the individual's doing and playing. Like, there's so many factors. I just feel bad when I see people that are like, I got it on PS4. And I can only download like 3 things, and then it's just crashing. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't have an answer. And it's so, and I think it's even for 2K, they'd probably be like, I'm assuming they would probably be like, well, we need all the details. Like, what are you playing on? What are you running? What are you downloading? All these different things to go, okay, maybe we could iron it out or figure out what it is. But speaking of that, of like, okay, kind of like things to improve, Sean, if you could have it your way,
oh boy.
what would be like 2 or 3 things that you would be kind of on your main wish list then, if you could next year?
For the game as a whole?
No, for Creation Suite specifically.
Number one, without a doubt, body morphing. That is like, for me, that would be like top of my list. I think more intricate sliders and dots for facial morphing would also be high on my list. And then probably the ability to reapply a face texture without having to start the morph over, because, man, it's so disheartening when you, if you start something and you go a long way and then you realize it's not going to work. And this is why now we play test a lot, because it's disheartening to realize you have to start over again. If the texture is not going to work.
Scott, what about you? What would be like 2 things you want fixed for Creation?
I mean, I would definitely say the body morphing's huge. We definitely need that, especially for Earthquake and Typhoon. There's like nothing. There's no good one for them. But one of the big ones for me is definitely the hair options. I mean, we're part of the wig movement. We love that. We need a lot more hairstyles. Or I liked what David had said in the pro wrestling shoot that we did the other night with him. I don't know if you caught it, Matt, but he said he was talking about things in regards to hair and kind of adding like parts to it, so you can add bangs and things. I thought that was a great idea. I would love something like that. I mean, because it's nice to be able to like stack the hairstyles, like put 2 or 3 hairstyles on. But again, we did that in 23, and I definitely saw a lot more crashes doing that. So if they could natively build something in where you can add bangs or longer, hair in the back or something like a mullet or something, that would definitely be something I would love to see in 25. Because
didn't David say in the interview, and I could be wrong, but I watched that too, and I thought he said like, it would be, you have the hairstyles. So I think people were asking like, okay, could we get the sliders back where it was like, can I go from short hair and just drag it down and be great? And he explained like complication of doing that. But then he brought up that point of like, there's potential for parts. So have hair wig number 2, put that on there, and then as the base, and then go and select parts. And it could almost just be selecting the other hairstyles so that you would create that layer effect, right? Now, I wish that, like I think Sean said, I'm like, I wish you could do the sliders, because I remember that too, where you're just like, okay, I go from like a buzz and be like, how long do you want it to go? And you could kind of tweak and change it how you go. But it sounds like, based off the interview with David, and it was really cool to listen to, that they see and hear all of that, and it sounds like they do want to try and make things just better. Obviously, like they have the Creation Suite in 2K games is some of the deepest in, like, when you look at sports games or stuff that's kind of in the same genre or similar. the customization level is nuts. So I think it's pretty cool that they want to try and just improve and change certain things, and especially if they can listen to the feedback and say, these are some of the top things we're looking at. Like, okay, is there a workaround? Like, we can't reinvent the wheel every year, but can we do like parts and do it that way and make it better? I was just going to look at the chat here, guys. If you have questions, throw them in there. I would be happy to answer them. Some person was asking in here, I forgot who said it, but they were like, Sean, beard regimen, beard oil. What do you use, man?
I use a company called Live Bearded.
Good Bearded? Okay, I gotta look that up. I don't have
Live Bearded. Live Bearded.
Oh, Live Beard. I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's okay. They have great stuff. So I usually have to buy a kit from them every month or so, but it comes with beard wash, conditioner, oil, balm, all the good stuffs. But it's a lot of upkeep. I'm telling you, it's if I shower and I don't straighten it, it gets all snarly and like I look like Yukon Cornelius, and like it's insane. So it's a bit of an upkeep, but my wife enjoys it.
Good. That's good.
Yes.
See, I've said to my wife, not that I would, but I'm like, I could shave this little thing and like completely off, and I'll look like I'm 9. And I did it one time during COVID. There's nothing going on. Her inside, I'm like, I can just do it. It'll come back. I did it and freaked her out. Just freaked her. And there's nothing here. Yeah. But it was just such a difference. We're like, it's all smooth and weird, and I don't like this.
I think
couldn't imagine Sean without it.
Yeah, I would look like a baby that's gone into like anaphylactic shock after a bee sting. It just wouldn't be.
No.
It wouldn't be. It hasn't been good in the past. Yeah, let's just put it that way.
So guys, Scott, I'll throw it to you. What do you want to see? We talk about Creation Suite and like kind of like things we want to get fixed and all that. What about the game in general? And not necessarily, it doesn't have to be like fixes, but what do you hope to see? Like, I mean, we're only 2 weeks into 24. There's a long road of like patches, updates, things they will tweak. But if you had to look at, okay, we know what we got for 24 with new match types, my GM expanded. What would you want to see and hope for 25 that they do?
I mean, every year I always ask for 2 things, and one is definitely a pipe dream, but I definitely want to see the return of like custom themes when we create. Yeah. I mean, I think that adds so much. And then the other thing that I ask every year, that I put on my wish list is like I was explaining with my GM, the online, like co-op online. I know they have online, but it's like you can play exhibition matches, but to get Universe and my GM with an online and even a cross-platform, I know that probably is like asking for too much, but just to get a native online for those 2 modes would be like everything to me. Yeah. So,
Sean, what about you? What do you want? What do you want next year?
Yeah, I think I would love to see an expanded backstage area with offices, locker rooms, catering area, interview area, similar to which we had in like maybe 19. I thought that was great. I think while there were some really cool features added to the backstage brawl this year, with a ton more interactivity, the space is still a bit limited. I think that and the other one just escaped me, but I think that would be really cool to see an expanded backstage area. Oh, and I do think maybe some of the chain wrestling mini games and stuff might be kind of fun, even if that's even if it's not for everybody, even if it's like a ability that you tag onto someone who's like a cruiserweight or a light heavyweight, or someone that's more apt to chain wrestle. There was a lot of cool moments from previous games with those back and forth chain wrestlings where I would be like, man, this is so smooth. It looks awesome.
See, I'd be into that, Sean, of like being able to do chain wrestling as a quick time event, like what they did with the timed punches, like the boo, yeah, boo. If they did it that way, I'm more inclined to enjoy that, because I like chain wrestling, and back in like 2K19 when we had it there. Is that right? Yeah. Yes. I liked it, but I know we could adjust it in the sliders and like increase it the amount of times. I didn't always like that it was like every match by default was like chain wrestle. I'm like, but I'm the Undertaker. Like, I don't want to chain wrestle right now. But I loved it when I'm like, I'm going to do a submission style. I got Kurt Angle in there. And then I want to be able to pull it off. I like the idea of certain guys using it almost as like a payback mechanic that they could just flick on and right at the beginning or something. And then, utilize it there. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be.
Would not be. What about match types? You guys are both like like the old school match types like me, but like, are there match types that you're like, oh man, I hope they do this next year?
Scott, what do you got, bud?
Yeah.
Sean, take this one first because I had something and it slipped my mind.
Terrible.
I know that we don't really see it on TV anymore, but it'd definitely be cool to get an Inferno match back in there. Buried Alive would be awesome. I think judging depending on how many superstars you can get in the ring, a traditional like 5-on-5 elimination Survivor Series match would be super awesome. But we're almost there, so I don't think it's too far away, but that might be a cycle or two away before we see that many people in a ring. But I think those would be the main ones that I would want to see.
I was trying to think like vintage stuff.
Yeah.
Remember lumberjack match?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Like, yeah.
But it's basically there. Like we can do two. You don't have to. Brian Williams, Jinx, if you're watching, you gotta just add in a lumberjack match. You just keep the two managers in there. Yeah, that's all we do. I don't need more. I would love more, but if you're only gonna give me two lumberjacks on either team, default it to two. And then they just more aggressive. They're already hyper aggressive, taking the turnbuckles off every 6 seconds. But just have them do that. Like I think that's a fairly simple match type to create because it's just a 1v1, two managers on the outside already that are locked, and they just try to do more shenanigans. Or when they roll out, they actually do punch and get at you, throw you back in. I loved lumberjack matches from years ago. It was the best.
Oh my god, yeah.
I always think of that one with Diesel and Sid from In Your House. Do you remember that one, Scott?
I didn't see that
one. Yeah. I think that's kind of the problem is like I do know they have like criteria and like they have priorities. Some of the older stuff obviously is probably lower on their list. Like they throw lumberjack in, who's going to care? Like from the community other than us.
I care.
Well, us three will care.
All that matters.
We need to start a lumberjack, like a hashtag lumberjack.
Yeah. Yeah. Get what we want. Just Batista memes all day long on. We just tag the devs. It won't bother them at all. I think one of them, someone brought it up in chat here, is like what I can't see. I think Anise said it, Iron Survivor. I could see them doing that as it has become kind of a staple for NXT for the last 2 years. And then maybe it would depend if WWE sees it as a priority of like, hey, we want this in. And if 2K can be like, well, we can make it happen. I think with the addition of gauntlet matches, it seems more plausible to be like, let's do a 5-way because it's basically a scramble match. You got to add in a penalty box somehow.
Like a round robin, like double elimination deal. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's like scramble. It's a modern like scramble match, right? Or King of the Mountain almost, where it's like, okay, you get a pinfall, you get the points like an Iron Man. Then you roll out, you go to a penalty box for a minute, then you're back in and you score the most points. I like the Iron Survivor.
That's interesting.
Hopefully they bring it back.
That match would be cool. I don't know how the mechanics would work, but
I don't know, dude. I've seen the hair physics some years. It just, if the hair is getting wonky, I worry about like a strap physic, a rubber band going around.
It would just be like a straight. You would be able to touch each other because it would just be solid.
That won't get messed up at all. At all.
Hey Matt, I don't know. Do you know, is King of the Ring back in? Did they add that back in?
King of the Ring is in there in exhibition, but it's not in like universe mode. So you can do King of the Ring tournament. You can do the Dusty Classic, but I think there's one more mixed match challenge too. I think is a tournament. I could be wrong, but yeah, it's in there, but it's still exhibition. We can't do it King of the Ring native like universe mode. That's where I see, like, again, we're talking about like my GM in universe next year. I really hope my GM gets like that next bump of like, okay, if they can get to 6-man matches, they're kind of covered because they can do chamber. You could do the Royal Rumble, limited to 6 if the system can handle it. You can get away with about everything we want to do, because they incorporated the new matches. The only ones they couldn't do was Gauntlet, Chamber, Rumble. I think that was it, and just multi-man matches. But yeah, I think they're almost there where I'm like, okay, now just give me that creation option of like put in custom arena, create a show, and just port in for my MyGM experience, and that'll be my main show, and that's it. But we'll have to see. Guys, I want to ask you, we're going to wrap up in a little bit, and then we'll get questions answered for kind of just ending off with a Q&A piece with you. WrestleMania 40, I wanted to ask you both. WrestleMania 40 is right around the corner. What are your, and I think I'll talk, I mean, Sean, you're an old school guy. You're not a fan of the new stuff, the new school. You're not there. You want to go back to Road Warriors. You want to go live in 1984, brother. I understand that. You're living out the dream. But could you talk to me for a second, each of you, about what are kind of your predictions of, let's talk about the main event, Rock, Roman, Cody, Seth, all of that, and the main events of that. How do you see that going? And Scott, I'll start with you, because Sean's going to be like researching who is Roman Reigns. He's not.
Yeah, see, I hate to say it, Matt, but I'm kind of in the same boat as Sean. I mean, I will follow. Yeah, so I follow, the way I kind of follow the current product is I don't watch weekly like I used to. Yeah. But then I am familiar with everybody, obviously, but I kind of like, because the whole thing with my universe that I love to do is dream matches, so legends versus modern. So storylines and stuff kind of, I'm not as knowledgeable on them, but I mean, I'm definitely a big Cody Rhodes fan, so I would, I'm kind of sick of the Roman thing. I know, don't cancel me, but but I mean, I like Roman Reigns. I think he's incredible, but I think it's time for Cody Rhodes
to finish his story. Sean, what about you?
So this storyline in particular has really grabbed me. So I have been paying attention to what's been going on. And I do think that probably my prediction would be Roman Rock over Cody Seth night one. And then potentially if Roman doesn't retain, it may end up being due to something that The Rock does. And then that storyline goes all the way until 41. So that's probably how I would book it. I feel like that would make the most sense, because now you're giving Cody his championship, but you're not just dropping Roman off the ledge. You're now putting him into something else that's just as important, and that's a build to WrestleMania 41 against The Rock in the main event. So I think that would be a nice way to kind of incorporate everybody. And Seth is facing, is it Drew McIntyre?
Yeah.
So it would be cool to see Drew get a world championship now that the pandemic has calmed down. I always feel like his run was a little bit tainted, and he didn't really get the due he was deserved. So it would be kind of cool to see him, take that from Seth and run with it for a while.
I agree. I want Drew to win just to see what would happen and to freshen up the title scene. Like if it is going to be Cody and Drew with the belts after Mania, I'm like, that's cool. And that creates new matchups, and there's going to be new storylines to run with. Then I will ask you another question, Scott, and both of you, but I'll start with Scott, to go with what you know and what you like. Dream matches. What is one dream match that you wish we got that we never did? It would be on your top of the list.
I'm a huge AJ Styles fan, so I could probably pick like a list of like legends that I would have loved to see him wrestle. Definitely like a Shawn Michaels and AJ Styles. I would have loved that. Usually too, when I do play a universe, which again I haven't done in a year or two because it's kind of stale to me. But like my GM, I'll always try to go for AJ Styles right off the bat, or like Cody Rhodes. And then when we get the DLC, definitely CM Punk too. And then I usually try to pair them against some of the legends, but definitely I'll try to go after like Shawn Michaels too, and then put those two in a match. Cause I just think that would be that would be like one of my top dream matches there.
I remember seeing like the posters people would mock up of HBK versus AJ, and I was like, that is one of those matches where you're like, we just missed the window kind of thing. I think we could have still gotten it a few years ago, but It would have been a lot of fun. Sean, what about you? Is there like one dream match for you that you're like, I wish we did this?
This one I feel like is a super obvious one. But I would have loved to seen Sting versus The Undertaker. And like really heel, devilish, Ministry of Darkness Undertaker versus the anti-hero Sting. Could have just been built. Like, I don't think anything in wrestling probably would ever have topped that if it had happened. And I'm not sure it would have been able to, live up to the hype. I mean, that just would have been something that I don't think we could have handled that if it happened.
No, and it would have been like right around. I mean, I know Taker changed his gimmick by the time we got to like Invasion and WCW was purchased, but yeah, it would have been that time if Sting came over. Then you make Undertaker go back to his older gimmick, and that would have been pretty cool. My one sleeper prediction for Mania this year, because it is 40. Sting is retired, I know, and it won't happen, but I still hold out hope that there's a moment at Mania. Taker comes out, the gong, the whole entrance, people are like, oh, cool, Undertaker. And then boom, it cuts, and it's Sting walking out. And you get Sting and Undertaker just in the ring. They look at each other and it fades to black. And that's the moment, because they can't wrestle. They're not going to. But just to give fans that moment of, oh, my God, I actually saw the two of them in the ring. That's what I hold out hope for.
You just gave me chills.
Yeah. I know. Like, it would work.
And I would be absolutely okay if that was just it. I don't need any more than that, really. I mean, at this day and age, I would just, to have that moment happen live on TV would just be incredible.
Yeah, that's all you need. You just want the stare down and just the lights, everything's dimmed down. They could shake hands, but that was because you always hear the stories of like Undertaker's like, well, it wasn't going to work. And it's like neither guy, I don't think, wanted to do the favors and do the job. I think that would have been a hard thing for either of them to figure out. But that's my moment I want to see at Mania. Or Austin just dishes out stunners.
Yeah, that's good too.
Guys, we'll wrap up here, but we'll stick around for just a few minutes. And let me talk to you, chat. Let's answer a few questions for the guys, and then we'll all move on with our Friday afternoon. This is Daddy's got to do homework. I don't have homework. The children have homework, and they'll be home in a bit. We'll do that. Let's see here. So, guys, throw your questions in the chat. By the way, if you are joining us here live and you are subscribed to the channel, you stick around because at the end, Matt's throwing out a code for Xbox. Not to get an Xbox, to get 2K24 on Xbox. It'll be the standard edition, courtesy of 2K, and I'll be giving away one code for WWE 2K24 Standard Edition if you're interested in. So I'll pick you at random and let you know, and then we'll get you a code, and we'll figure that out. Pulse Action Gaming, where do we find them? I think he's asking about your creations. Guys, it would be just Icons of the Ring is the hashtag to use. Follow them also on Twitter, on X, for Icons of the Ring, and you can see their handles are here on screen as well to follow them because they're posting all the time. Like I said, they've got Hardcore Holly was like the latest. Bam Bam just went up. There's a lot of good stuff. And again, it's a team effort. Sean and Scott are two guys that are joining with the crew for today, but there's so many other people that work on it. Just off the top of my head, I just know like Executioner and Sky Movesets, they collaborate with you guys quite often, and there are a lot of other people, right?
Yeah, we added DW Federation was doing our renders last year, and then he started getting into creating the CAWs as well. And then Tyrant as well does CAWs. Then we had two Sweet and Holly, what's it? 2K? Yeah, doing arenas, and then Quick Stop Hicks does he does honestly like one of the best jobs with presentation. So we started doing like magazine covers this year. Last year we were doing trading cards. Yeah, so he did magazine covers this year. So we're going to have like magazine stands images that he's going to make at the end of each month that we're going to kind of recap. So we think presentation's a big part, and he's just as important as everybody else in the group. So
Sooner Fan in the chat says, are we getting 123 Kid this year from Icons?
Yeah, I'm working on them right now. There's a great one going up. I know Shattered's working on one. But yeah, I made him in 22, and I'm going to try to redo him this year as well. So
just trying to see if you guys got questions for Sean and Scott in here. They're just saying thanks and good stuff. Who has the best Crow Sting creation? I would have said Jenna Sting is up there with.
Yeah, Jenna. I mean, That's who, him or Kells. I mean, we always look for Kells to WCW project. Yeah, those two, we always go, I think, right for theirs.
2K, I think 2K should be paying you guys. Haha. Can they make Abyss in the game? What game has the best creation suite? There's a good one.
Oof. In general,
I guess in general, or what came to mind, like what stands out for you guys then as like a top creation suite where you're like, they nailed it on this one?
2K15, absolutely.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
I definitely think, I know David had mentioned this too during theirs, that they really take pride in their creation suite. I do think theirs is one of the top three. He had mentioned too Dragon's Dogma 2. Now I haven't gotten into that, but I've seen pictures of that creation suite, and that thing looks insane too.
It's cool though if they can take inspiration, because from his perspective as an engineer, as a designer, they got to look at outside of just the medium and go, okay, look at what this game is doing, and can they take elements of it and then work it into their system? And it's good that they do look at that.
That was very evident too in what he was saying. He said he was watching kind of the hair dye feature that Street Fighter 6 had. So it's really good to know that they do have their eye and finger on the pulse of what is going on outside of the 2K scope, and are aware of, where they need to go. So that's kind of cool.
Nice. I see. So what, I guess, let's say RX Rodriguez says, Assemble, please ask if they can make an alt for Wesley that works in My Rise. Oh. Well, I think they'll mostly be working on the Legends on that aspect, but I would just check community creations for it. What else we got in here? So guys, I guess I'll ask is like, what are you working on or hope to do for this year for the game? It's already been 2 weeks, but you've done a ton. For you guys and the rest of the team, is there anything you can share for what's coming down the pipe, you're finishing, you're going to release?
Yeah, we have so we usually do like a spreadsheet, Matt, like every year. I think last year we released like 110 legends. And that's including like a lot of like the alternates. Like I have like 6 different Owen Harts. We created a spreadsheet of like our like to-do list, not promising that we're going to get to all of them, but I think we are up to like 175. So we're definitely expanding more. Yeah, with Tyrant and Dalton on the team now. They're going to kind of go, I know they're working on like Stan Hansen to go at the Bruiser Brody that I'll put up soon. And then we're going to kind of go a little bit further back, like so maybe like 70s, and because we kind of had like a limit as to where we were creating last year, so we're going to kind of expand that a little before and after. So I know that the list is definitely extensive, and I think I have pretty much everybody. I'm going to do, like me, Sean, and Execution are going to pretty much do everybody that we did in last year. And then we added a couple more on there that we've wanted to do again. So like Bruiser Brody, I didn't do him last year, but I created him in 22. So I brought him back for 24. And there's a couple more on there. We're going to try to do a little bit more like teasers this year and community interaction to see what people want. But if you can think of a legend, they're probably on the list.
We need them all tomorrow. We need them now. I got a lot to download, to be honest. Yeah, fine. I got a lot to download, to be honest, because I'm like, okay, I keep seeing what you guys are posting. I'm like, I've been busy, so I haven't had time to sit there and be like, I want to set up like an Attitude Era universe mode. And like when I saw Hardcore Holly the other day, I was like, I gotta get in there, and I gotta get the retro arenas, the Raws. Like I think I downloaded like a Raws War 98. I'm like, man, I just want to go and sit and just do some retro play and have some fun. Speaking of fun. Yeah, man. Hey,
man. I'm sorry. You might find this fun too. So one thing we were talking about this year is kind of doing more like theme stuff. So we did like on St. Patrick's Day, Sean had like a Ken Shamrock, like his green alternate. So we are actually, so we're going to kind of go, I think a little bit more around like the DLC too. So like when you see a DLC pack coming out, we're going to kind of plan some creations that are themed to that DLC, like the ECW one. You're probably going to see like a wave of ECW ones coming out around then, and then holidays and things like that. So we're gonna try to have fun this year and kind of do things. We have a couple ideas for like April Fools. We meant to do fake Razor and fake Diesel last year for April Fools, but we couldn't get them out in time. So we have a couple things maybe we're gonna shoot for on April 1st that are just little fun throwaways. But
that's fun though, if you're going to do, like we're saying in the chat too, like if you're doing like ECW to go along with the ECW pack and the DLCs, if you line them up there, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's like Alex says ECW Bam Bam, for example. Like, yeah, there's fun stuff you guys could actually pull off. So that's gonna be it, guys. We're gonna wrap up here. You both are very busy. You gotta run. You got an hour of your time, so I really appreciate it. Let's put a hard stop on it. But guys, if you want to follow Sean, if you want to follow Scott, you can at Real Sean Styles, at Dr. Gorilla Nuts, at Icons of the Ring is where you can follow them. Check everything out. And as I do that, I am going to now go in and I'm going to select somebody randomly here who's going to be winning a standard copy of 2K24 for the Xbox system, the console. And if you don't need it, you can return it, and then I can run it again. You can also do that. Some people do that as a nice thing. So in 3, I'm literally scrolling the chat. 3, 2, and a 1, and I have landed on EH2K Player. A2K Player. How are you? A2K Player. Congratulations. You won Xbox 2K24 Standard Edition. You can email me, and I'll put that in the chat at, wait a minute, that's not it. Assemble on YouTube at gmail.com. A2K. Throw it there. Email me there. I'll probably get 50 emails. It's fine. I don't care. But message me, and I will get you a copy of the game. Congratulations, you won. And boys, thank you very much for joining me here today. I had some fun. I hope it was okay for you.
It was a blast, man. Thanks for having us on.
No problem.
Yeah.
Chat, thanks so much for joining us. If you missed this, or you missed and you just jumped in for a little bit, feel free to connect with us because I will be recording this and then I will upload it later. If you want to check the full thing, all condensed down for you, all cleaned up, having some fun. Guys, thank you all so much for being here. Sean, Scott, thanks again, guys. And we'll see you on the next one.
Let me talk to you.